jump in here, chuck your boots on, going to go for a sprint session or whatever it might have been. And, I was sitting next to dudes like Jamie Lyon, Matt Orford. Mind you, this is the 2008 Premiership winning side. The first one that they won against Melbourne, star after star, a Kangaroo player, whatever it might have been, Origin players are in there. And it was just like, I'm a 17-year-old kid, barely with facial hair. I'm sitting next to these dudes, like I'm just like far out.
Manifest Podcast.
Party number 10.
That's right.
Double digits. Here are the boys at Stadium. Big Chris. How you going, bro?
Good, man. Good. Yourselves?
Yeah, awesome. Stadium, bro. How did this all start? Where'd the idea come from? How did you just kick off?
Yeah, so the other two business owners, which one is my brother Travis, and then we've got the other business owner, Footy, originated the idea out in Emerald. So they were given an opportunity with a space from Footy's father-in-law. He said pretty much, what can you do with this? Travis and Fedor at the time were running a sup store. And so, they were in that entrepreneurial mindset. And they just took a chance and they wanted to start a gym. So that was the location and that's where it all kicked off from there. So
yeah, that's dope as, bro. And now you've opened the one here in Gladdy, obviously. Location number 2.
Yeah.
Is that when you got involved with it?
Yeah, for sure. So pretty much I was asked to go in on the first one, but just timing of it wasn't right for me personally.
Yep.
So I was going away on a trip and I pretty much didn't have a time frame of when I was going to come back. So, I missed out on the Emerald one, but seeing what they done with Emerald was pretty much like, we need to do this in Gladstone. Like, Gladstone deserves something, what they've got out there here.
Oh, bro.
So,
man.
yeah. And we wanted
bro.
that, that world's gym, fitness cartel vibe, super clean finish. And
That's what Gladstone was missing, bro. Like,
Straight
personally, like doing gym, like you'd have, not saying the other gyms around here, there's like that one or two that's pretty nice, but you go down to Brizzy and you just get that, you go to those gyms, you're like, fuck, wish we had that here in Gladdy, and you guys brought that to us, and like, it's been so good for so many, like there's so many of us young people getting around that want to start getting into that gym influence community, and we've really struggled with the gyms here, and you just opened those doors for us, bro, with this, and it's just unreal, bro. Like the lighting, the equipment, everything's just clean. Like you've pretty much nailed it on the head, bro.
Yeah, appreciate that. We put a lot of hard work in, a lot of months, and a lot of pre-planning, and definitely end product.
Yep.
Definitely what we're after. Lots of details, lots of bits and pieces that went into it. A lot of late nights, a lot of cleaning, a lot of demo work. We're hands on ourselves in the build. We weren't just
trying to save money everywhere you can.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, something, we're 1,500 square metres under roof here, and it was a full refit. So pretty much it was an old bowling alley in here. It still had laneways and floors. And I don't know if you guys seen it.
Kids, bro. Yeah,
man. And then after that, it was like a second-hand store / mechanics. And Trav sent me this, link on real estate commercial, whatever. And I'm like, you guys go down and have a look at this. And I went in and I was like, there was birds flying around on the roof nesting. It was an old second-hand store. There was like junk from like periods of time I've never seen before. We pretty much just went for a walk around, and it was just, it was like, what we envisioned was like, holy, like what we could do with this, turn it into like a basement style Air Force hangar with that stadium feel to it. So it was pretty crazy once we connected to the space and was just like, this is it, we're going to go for it. It was hectic. And then from there it was just 12 months, just full rush, getting it sorted, ordering equipment.
There would have been so many nightmares with that too, eh?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a hard one. Like, you're negotiating a lease, and then we're trying to negotiate a lease in periodics of time based off when equipment's going to arrive. So we ordered the equipment 12 months in advance based off shipping time. So there's like a shipping crisis in the world, and it was pretty much, you can have all this equipment, but it was like when's it going to be here? Was sort of like, that was a sticking point for us. So that was our first challenge. It was like, hey, it's a 6-month wait, where previously it was 3 months. And it's like, geez, we got a lease that's going to be ready to rock and roll in 3 months. So negotiating lease times and that on the back of that was just like our first sticking point. I mean, after that, I guess construction, if you have a look around, like it's all concrete. And I'm pretty sure this slab it's in different time periods, like when it was poured. So the original slab is like 50 years old, and it's QAL slab. So if anyone's familiar with how old QAL is, like this main slab's QAL, and then there's bits and pieces that are poured after for extensions and that.
Yeah.
So, like getting all the toilets and, trying to cut concrete to make it all work. We're pouring new stuff like the ramps and bits and pieces like that. That was pretty full on. I mean, Travis and I, in those bathrooms, to save money, we're like, use to the plumbers, you cut the concrete, all good. And so they've cut the concrete and we said, we'll get in and we'll just bash it out, all good. And Travis and I come down on a Sunday afternoon, and him and I are like silently competitive, being brothers. Like we don't honestly, like, we're not openly competitive, we won't bicker or anything like that, but with anything, we're silently competitive. So we've got in and we've gone to the female section, and that's a newer slab, and it's just like popped out easy as, and we're sort of skiting to each other like, easy, no dramas at all. And then we've worked our way along, and then we've got to the back slab, and it's the QAL 50-year-old construction slab at the back there. And I've hit it off straight up, got the crowbar, and it's just like, bang. And I knew that first tap, if you've ever been on a crowbar and you've just cracked into it, it sent vibrations through to my elbows, and I was rattling. And didn't show anything, I was just like, nah, all good here, like, it's like, you right? And I'm like, yep, nah, all good, like, sweet. I'm persevering, bang, bang, and he's still just like, you good? Or you want me to swap out? I'm like, no, all good, Sweet, still going, the first 3 come out within an hour. We're an hour deep still on this first one and into the old slab, and I'm like, nah, all good, we're going good. And by the end of the day, we're going 1 for 1, blisters, at 6 o'clock at night, the missus is ringing like, are you coming home? Like, what are you doing? Like, but just silently competitive, we didn't let it beat us on that day, and I guess we just carried that mentality all the way through the build.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Lots of different things. So, it's crazy.
Like growing up, is this something like you always wanted to do, like start a business with Travis, or is it just a point in time where you're like, let's try and give this a go, eh? Yeah,
I guess we've always been pretty close. I mean, when we were younger, we probably weren't. We got a bit of an age gap, like that 3-year age gap. So I was developing obviously a lot faster than when I was 15. Travis 12, he's still a little kid. But I guess once we both became adults and that, our bond became much closer. And I guess we always, throwing ideas around and that sort of thing. And Jim was always an influence on us. Like, I started when I was 18, doing weights and all that sort of stuff. And I think Trav jumped on the back of that. So we're always passionate in fitness. We played footy, all sorts of sports growing up. And I guess eventually, what they say is do something you love. And I guess that's where it came to it. It was just like, they started in the fitness industry, more the sup side of things, and then I jumped in on with the gym with them, with that. So definitely was always keen to do something with them.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Yeah,
we got a pretty good working relationship, Travis and I. Like, he's got one type of personality, and I've got the other, and I think we mesh well. Whereas we don't have the same personality trying to beat each other.
To have two different views, bro, on everything, eh?
For sure. Trav's right out there on the spectrum when it comes to entrepreneurism. He's always so forward thinking. He's always like, what about this idea? What about that? And I'm that calming voice. Let's just put our focus here for now for the next 3 months, and then we'll go to here next, and then we'll ask those questions that he's not thinking about, sort of thing. So I guess that's where we work pretty well together.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's great.
100%. So, bit about yourself, bro. You started out from Emerald. You're from Emerald, grew up, and
so if no one's familiar with Emerald, it's a town of 10,000 plus west of here. So it's a little country town. It sort of borders that still green, but still starting to go to the desert. Cool little community, heavily sports based. It's an industry town similar to Gladstone. Like here, we've got alumina and the smelter and the power station. We're out there, they're just purely all mines, open cut and underground. Yeah. So heavily dominated by that out there. So, everyone's families are there because of that reason. But super community based. And we grew up there. I was there until I was 16 or 17, and then Trav left when he was 15 or 16 to come across to Gladstone. So I'd moved away to go to Sydney, and then our parents moved here pretty much after that. But awesome little town, like cool things you probably don't get to experience in the city. Being out there, you know, like you got river systems that you're swimming in every weekend. You got heaps of freedom. Safe town as well. Like, so it was a cool place to grow up. Definitely.
Yep. Yeah. So, like touching on you moving to Sydney when you were 16, 17, so that was for your footy, bro. So you were a bit of a gun back in the day. Yeah, I wouldn't say I was a gun. I think a lot of things lined up for me. So out there, rugby league was just the heart of sporting for young men anyway. So, you know, you're playing in the school systems and then you're playing in the club systems as well. And you know, I was just fortunate enough that I made a couple of good rep sides and played pretty well at them. That I had a scout was following me pretty much around to these competitions. So, we're going to play in the, you know, state carnivals and all that sort of stuff. And he'd seen what he wanted to see. And I was just literally playing a local grand final, similar to like here in Gladstone. And we ended up actually losing that grand final. And I was filthy about it. I was pretty passionate about winning that one. It was like my first like 17s grand final. And anyway, this scout just rolls in after me and he's just like, hey man, chasing me down. I was like, hey, how you going? Who are you? Sort of thing. And he introduced himself and he said, pretty much, mate, been watching you all year. Here's a contract. There's going to be a contract in the mail in a week. Have a look at it. Get yourself a manager pretty much. We're keen to get you down. So yeah, pretty much from that, it was, you know, the contract comes in, you get yourself a manager, and it's pretty full on for a 17-year-old kid. I was about to say, bro, at that age to be like, hey, like get yourself a manager and that, like it's such a mind flip, bro. It's like, holy shit, like in 1 week, bro, your whole life just changed, eh? Like, like serious.
Especially being from Emerald. Like, you wouldn't have seen it much out there, would you? Like at all?
No, like there's not a lot of... I mean, there has been a lot of great footballers come out of Emerald and got their opportunities, but for them guys, it's more like a grind. Like they'll go from Emerald to Brizzy, they'll play in that Brizzy comp, and then, you know, later on in life they'll get a contract or, you know, whatever, they get their breakthrough. Whereas, you know, I would have just been 16 when I get offered this deal, and it was crazy. It was just like I was pretty lucky. My mum and my dad, you know, pretty level-headed guys, and, you know, they're like, you know, don't let it get ahead of you. Like, just calm down. We'll have a read through this. Like, let's just keep it on the hush. Like, you just keep doing what you're doing. You've still got, you know, a couple other things in the background you need to be focusing on. And it was just unreal, eh? Just a great experience, I guess, to get that opportunity. So
yeah,
sure,
that would have been such a big change too, going from Emerald to Sydney.
Man,
you know,
for sure. Like, you could. So pretty much, I think I was 17. I've been signed for 1 year. I didn't play a lot of footy due to injury, and I was away. And so I went to schoolies on the GC, like partied for that week, carried on, and I get back and pretty much get a phone call second day back, and they're like, hey, you need to pack your bags. Like, we're ready for you to come down now. Like, pre-season's kicking off. You're going to do 4 weeks before Chrissy, and then you're going to fly home. You're going to come back and do the pre-season with first grade, pretty much, because at that time I wasn't in the under-20s. I was in like what they call the Harold Matthews or the under-18s. So you got like this gap before you start. They only play a limited game season. So yeah, pretty much got back. I was still hungover as, you know, had my first beer sort of thing, and I was like, geez, I've packed 2 bags. Mum's driven me to Rocky with Dad. Pretty much, you know, kiss and a cuddle, and see you later. I'll see you in 4 weeks. First time being outside of Queensland, even like it's just crazy, eh?
So that was through Manly. Your contract was
with?
with?
So I was contracted to the Sea Eagles. Awesome club, awesome spot. If you ever get a chance to go to Sydney and go to Manly,
yeah,
like
I've been Manly just recently, bro. It's so beautiful, man.
Such a vibe, like beaches, beautiful beaches, and then you've just got like super cafe culture, surf culture's massive there. Like,
yeah, bro.
Surf culture's way bigger than the footy culture there. Like, dudes repping, you know, Billabong and Rip Curl and all that sort of stuff. They're like the pinnacle of sports on Manly. So, but it was just such a beautiful spot and such a change from being out in the sticks, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, bro.
Out in the red dirt, out in Emerald, and then you roll into Sydney, and it's just like, Jesus, I didn't know this many people existed on the planet.
Yeah, even like they got that massive ferry terminal there, bro. They go straight to the city.
Yeah.
So it's packed in Manly.
Yeah.
Like, we're all there on a cruisy, like, weekday, and it was still just people buzzing around everywhere, like, shopping and shit, 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of that's probably tourists for sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Sydney's definitely, even for me, only going Brizzy, like, Sydney's just another level from Brizzy, stepping up again. So, yeah, crazy, bro.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, it's definitely an eye opener for a kid that hasn't had a lot of exposure to that sort of lifestyle. You know, living out there, you're heavily sheltered in what you see and what the world's really about, and then you get that opportunity, you shoot across, and and so pretty much I land in Sydney, and I roll into it's the New South Wales Academy of Sport. I'm pretty sure where Manly's based. So you roll in, and my first day is like a introduction day, whatever you want to call it. And so I walk in, and Des Hasler's there, pretty much. And I don't know if you see a lot of Desi, but he's a pretty eccentric sort of dude. The way he carries himself on TV, and it's not just for TV. So he is exactly the same off the field. He is when it comes to rugby league and man management, and working with the players. He's just like on a different level, like that, like getting the best out of his players. But I walk in, and Des Hasler's the first bloke I meet, and it was just like crazy. And then you walk into this room, and they're like, "Oh, jump in here, chuck your boots on. You're gonna go for a sprint session or whatever it might have been." And I was sitting next to dudes like Jamie Lyon, Matt Orford. Mind you, this is the 2008 at this point, so it is the premiership winning side.
Wow.
The first one that they won against Melbourne by 44 points or
It was
whatever.
like 48, I think.
48 points or something. It was that side. It was just like star after star. A kangaroo player, whatever it might have been. Origin players were in there, and it was just like I'm a 17-year-old kid, barely with facial hair. I'm sitting next to these dudes. Like I'm just like far out, and they're like, and they were all awesome dudes too. Like none of them carried an ego, or they weren't dicks or anything like that. They were all just super welcoming. They all come from humble beginnings as well. So, that first day was definitely just like, geez, like this is what it's about. Like this is what you wanted, and now you've got it, and you've got to work hard on.
That's awesome.
Doing that. So it was just crazy.
And a lot of those boys that you're probably with in that squad with are probably still playing today. Like I think you're saying Cherry Evans.
Yeah. So
it was with you and.
So once obviously finished that pre-season with first grade, and then we did the Harold Matthews. We started in the 20s system, so I think it was the second year of 20s. Don't quote me on that, but so 20s had run for a year, and then roll into training, and our squad was, I think our halfback was Cherry, like you said, and then we had Foran at 5'8", William Hopewadi, we had Darcy Lussick, Jared Wahira Hargraves, like 13 of them guys went on to play first grade, and not just for 1 or 2 seasons. These guys were mainstay first graders after that. So, it was a crazy 20 season, that one. Like, it was, it was hard to crack that side. Like, I was the younger year, so I think I was only 18 and they were all 19. And, I was in and out of that squad, on and off, different positions and that. But, at the end of the day, that first season with them was a great experience. Like, you can't just expect to come from the sticks. I train my ass off every time I train, whether it's in the gym or it's out on the paddock, we're doing wrestling or whatever it might be. We're always training hard, but, them guys were there. They had the skill set, and you just had to bide your time being the younger guy, you just got to just keep grinding, keep staying focused, it was pretty much what we had to do. And, just in and out of the squad all year, and got an opportunity late in the year, I think, in the centres, which was pretty cool. Like, it was a position I'd never played, and I think I played like 6 or 7 games straight on the trot in that year with that squad, and I think we ended up winning the minor premiership with 300 points for. So there was no other squad that was even close to us, like in terms of for and against and that sort of thing. So it was just a crazy feeling. We played Goldie to finish our season, and just to get that minor premiership, such an accomplishment for the team, and then just for myself. Like, not many kids get that opportunity to even get a minor premiership. I know it's not the big dance, but even just to have a successful season like that's pretty hectic.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, when you're there, where are you living and all that, and how does that all work?
Yeah, so it's So pretty much each club will probably be different. I know, like, the bigger clubs like the Roosters and Penrith and that, they have houses that they've obviously purchased through the club and put the players up in that and do that sort of thing. Manly, on the other hand, what they do is they get like pretty much like a family will take you on, especially being that young. They don't want to put you into, throw two 18-year-old or two 17-year-old kids together in a house and go, oh, here, fend for yourself. So they put you up with a family first up. And, you pretty much just jump in with them. They do all the cooking, cleaning. They're pretty much just like your normal family, and then you just train after that. After that, and then once you're comfortable enough living in Sydney and that, you can find your own joint, bunk up with the boys, whatever you want to do. So, the initial thing, and it's really good. Like, it's a shell shock for, rural kids and all that sort of stuff to just be ripped out of their family and be chucked with in by themselves. Homesickness at that age is a real thing. Like, I experienced it myself. You just want to go home. At the end of the day, you want to go back to doing what you're doing, and things get tough when you're playing a sport like that. Like I said, you're not making the side, or you're in the side one week, you're out of the side the next week, and homesickness becomes a part. So,
sure, I reckon it would. I reckon it would affect a lot of people. Like, almost, it would affect everyone.
Yeah,
especially at 17, and you lose all your friends as well. Like, you have to make new friends and all that. But putting you in like a family would be great. Like, even though it's not your family, it'd still be pretty good, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. I was fortunate enough. The family I got to go with was the manager of the club at the time, and he had a young daughter. I think she was only like 3 or 4, and I guess like I just bonded with her. Like, she was like a little escape from a lot of things. Her name was Maddie, and she was just a beautiful little kid, and I guess that's what brought me back. Is like, when I was having a crap day, like, I would come home to this family that wasn't even mine, wasn't even like my own blood, and I see this little girl, she'd come meet me at the door, and it was just like, oh man, like, the world's better now. Like, I can go watch Dora the Explorer with her and just chill out and veg out and just process everything that had happened.
Takes your mind off footy for a bit.
Man, and you have to be like, there's a lot of pressure on young football players, especially today. Back then I think we had Facebook. That was it. I think Facebook Messenger wasn't even a thing. We were still messaging through Facebook. Yeah. And so the exposure back then wasn't as much as it is now. Like, you look at footy players today and 100,000 followers and the pressure to achieve and be in sides and, play good footy and all that sort of stuff. It's just so high. But, back then it wasn't as crazy. But, I feel for players these days, especially younger ones that are, earmarked to go so far in football and they're not achieving at that time.
And the way the world works is you can be great for a year, like 10 games straight, 20 games straight. You had that one game and everyone's just shit on you. Everyone just wants you out. Like, everyone doesn't believe in you anymore. It's just crazy, bro. You feel like you have to redeem people that you don't owe anything to, bro. It's just such a... Like, even have people like Benny Hunt, like, dropping that ball in the grand final 2015, like, how much hell he got, bro, for that. Yeah. Just, it's like everyone at home watching, it's like, let me put you in that position. You catch a high ball in Golden Point, grand final, let's see how you go. Like, everyone's just so perfect behind the screen, eh?
So 100%. It's just, I feel for Benny on that one. That was definitely horrible. And I think people at home just need to respect that these guys, like, it literally is a full-time job for these guys. Like, they're literally up at 7 o'clock in the morning. They roll into work pretty much. They got a script of what they've got to do for the day. They might be doing sprints, this, that, ball work. We'll meet on the field at the end of the day and we're doing a pose. So for them, it's a job every single day. And, they're putting a lot of effort in behind, the scenes. Are not just rolling in for a 2-day training session, roll out. Like, it's their life. They got families too. And I think people just need to be respectful when it comes to social media and any sort of form of media that, these high-end sports stars, whether it be football or, athletics or whatever it might be, they just need to just remember that they're human beings too. So.
Yeah, with social media, it's so easy just to talk shit, comment, because it's like nothing's face-to-face. It's everyone's safe behind the phone. And
there's no repercussions for them for sure. Yeah. I mean, on the back end of that, like, clubs are pretty good too at
having
media training and they've got support there as well. They definitely do have mental health guys and all that you can go talk to if you are struggling with that sort of stuff. I think it's come to light a lot more in the last, 5 or 6 years. There has been a lot of young players, end their lives because of pressure in sports or supposed pressure in sports. I'm not going to say it's directly that, but
Yep.
yeah. So I guess there is that support there for them.
Yep. 100%, bro.
Definitely.
So you were in Sydney. How long were you in Sydney for? Did you end up?
Yeah, so I played the one season of that 18s, and then I played 2 seasons of under 20s. So I didn't get to play all the seasons. In the off seasons, I did have to have. So I done my left shoulder and had to get a reconstructive surgery. So I spent most of pre-season doing rehab. That was for the first season. So I finished Harold Matt's reconstructive surgery, and then I've jumped into the into the 20s, and then played that season like I spoke about, and then I had to have reconstructive surgery on my right shoulder. So
Far out.
so I spent all my off seasons in the rehab group. Yeah. So it was pretty hectic. And rehab's not like, oh, you just go and get a massage and that. Like, you get the surgery, and pretty much we had this physio, and he was just hell. Like, he was just so he was really good at his job, but he was just a mean physio. Like, just his expectation of where you should be in your recovery and getting players back to the field at 100% as quick as possible. Like, he was unreal. So hats off to him. Thanks very much. He got my shoulders killer again. But yeah, so and then we played that next season, and I was pretty much mainstay in that side for most of the season once I come back, which was good. Yeah. And I guess when it got to the end of the 20s season, I didn't really have a contract in the mail. I hadn't played that great of footy. I was just sort of coming off the bench, and I didn't really get that good full season pre-season training in, so I was catching up on the back end in terms of my fitness. I was doing a lot of weights and recovery and all that during my pre-season rather than running. Yep. So yeah, I guess at the end of it, I got to the point where it was like, I just rang. I didn't have a manager at the time. I just didn't bother about re-signing him, and I just managed myself. So I pretty much just rung Crusher Cleo, or Noel Cleo, who was at the time the recruitment officer, and I said, hey, what's the go with next year? It's 20s is over, and he pretty much just said, it'll be like a train and trial pretty much, and you'll do... So at the time, New South Wales didn't have New South Wales Cup. It was pretty disbanded. They had 3 different Jim Beam Cup, this cup, and another type of cup, and, these certain clubs played in that. And, so it was a bit higgledy-piggledy when it came to a footy club to choose and whether you wanted to continue on with there. So I think I just made the decision. I just wanted to go home and see my family. I'd spent 2 full years away, flat out training, barely seeing them, barely talking to them on the phone. FaceTime wasn't even a thing back then. I don't even think iPhones were around when I was playing. So it was just I was on the old Nokia 3315, talking to mum and dad, running out of credit and they're topping me up sort of thing. But I got to the end and I just packed up my car, and I had my partner at the time, and we just drove back to Gladdy pretty much from there. We just cruised on in. We just did a 3-day trip all the way up, and I pretty much just had this little Hilux shoot, those little workmate utes, but one from 95 or something like that. It was just
the low lux.
It was just it was just surreal, driving out of there, dream was over sort of thing. But I did have the Comets at the time. I was intending to go there with them, but yeah, that sort of all fell through when they transitioned from the Comets to the Capras. Yeah. So I just left that and pretty much just rolled into Gladdy. Mum said, Mum and Dad were like, man, there's plenty of work here. Get yourself back here, set yourself up. You're 20 years old now. I didn't have a trade or anything like that. I was just pretty much cruising the Gladdy. I think I come down this Gladstone Benaraby Road, and I was like, come pick me up. I'm lost. In Gladstone, I'm lost. But I mean, I've rolled in, and and then life pretty much began after the footy.
Yep.
That's so crazy. You still had so much time in the footy scene, and then you come back here and you're still only 20 years old. Yeah, you still had...
I think that was the thing with the 20s is if you've ever watched it, back then when it first came on the scene, it pretty much replaced Reggie's, the reserve grade for Manly. They pretty much, all them New South Wales clubs got rid of that. And the expectation that if you didn't make it by 20, you weren't going to make it at all.
Yeah.
So, or you didn't get a contract to stay on with them. And I think what that did is like I fell into that realm of where like I was a late bloomer or late developer when it comes to rugby league. So, you know, I wasn't maturing until 22, 23, 24. My body hadn't matured fully yet. I was still recovering from pretty serious injuries. But I guess for football and rugby league, where it suffered is that they missed a generation of rugby league players that were 20 years old, couldn't cut it at 20, but could have cut it when they were 23.
Yeah.
And so all them guys just sort of disappeared. And I think that's where a lot of us missed out, and a lot of viewers and that missed out on a generation of rugby league players that could have been the next Darren Lockyer or the next Wally Lewis. You just never know. And it did show in the rugby league there for a bit. You would have seen where like, you know, all them greats, you know, Lockyer and all that sort of faded out, and then it was just this like weird, real super young scene came straight on, and it was like there was no old heads anymore. And I guess that's what 20s did. They sort of phased out a generation of 25-year-olds that would have been the next sort of thing. So I think rugby league's in a good spot now where, you know, you've got Q Cup and you've got New South Wales Cup, and so they've got their systems in play now, and they've understood what's happened. So
it's awesome. So I moved to Gladdy, bro. Where'd you kick off here when you were 20 for work?
So rolled in, and I guess my first thought was like I wanted to get a trade. You know, I didn't have anything behind me, and that mentality just to get a trade was where I wanted to start. So I ended up getting on with a local chippy at the time, and you know, I did like a 3-month trial. Like I just rung him off my own back and said, "Hey mate, give us a start." And anyway, I did 3 months with him, and at the time, Gladstone was just starting to boom off. They had the gas plant construction going on, and I think a lot of the alumina refineries and that were also doing their own upgrades while Bechtel were here, so they were doing their own construction projects. I think Y2 was kicking off, and so that was happening in the background. Anyway, I'm with this guy, and he pretty much just was waiting to go out onto the island. So he said, "I'll give you a trade. Come work for me."
Actually, that would have been around when the island Bechtel was starting, eh?
Yeah, so they were just cutting dirt and all that sort of stuff. And I think he was going out there doing something. Anyway, that I won't go into detail, but that trade fell over. Pretty much called him out on it. Knew he was leaving me. So yeah, I pretty much didn't have a job like 3 weeks out from Christmas. I had like $1,000 to my name or something, and the local brothers club rang me up out of the blue. A guy named Moose, or Matt Jones, as he's known, and Jonesy calls up, and he's got like a real radio voice. Like if you've ever heard him, he's just got like this.
He can sell ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he is just unreal, and he's called me up and he's just sold me on the club. Like he's pretty much given me a 50-year history in like 10 minutes and what it's all about. And he pretty much had me sold. And like 3 days later, I meet up with the company I was going to work for, the manager, the club coach, head coach, which was, what was his name? It was Cartwright, John Cartwright's younger brother, Michael Cartwright, his younger brother, who played first grade as well. He was the coach. And we all just met up, and then, I got a job like a week out from Chrissy.
Let's go.
Started doing that, and I pretty much started doing hydroblasting, industrial service work for them, and I've pretty much done that ever since in the same site. Like I really enjoy the work. You know, it's different. It's if you've never seen hydroblasting done on a large scale, it's a lot of robotics, and you pretty much get to blow stuff up with water. And in the short, like different applications of how you do it. But I mean, we just blow stuff up pretty much with water, which is pretty cool. So and that's where I've been for the last 12, nearly 13 years this year out there doing that. So.
Yeah. What sites you on? You'd be on your Rio and your QAL, clean all the...
Predominantly I'm at Rio. I mean, I have done a stint at QAL, and I have travelled around a little bit doing the same sort of work. Predominantly Rio. It's a pretty clean site. Safety's pretty high there, and they buy into the safety as well, and they're all for improvement and continuous improvement and all that sort of stuff. So that's why I stayed on. I quickly progressed into from being just an operator, I went from labour hire operator. And I think by the time I was 23, I was running my own crews and all that sort of stuff. And then I was like 2IC as well of that company that I was working for. So I progressed pretty quickly into a leadership role, which is why I hung around. Like I enjoyed man management. I enjoyed the crews that were out there. Yeah. and man, I was just learning heaps of stuff. 23 years old, and you're looking after like 10, middle-aged men, and the different personalities, and how to get the best out of your people was it's pretty cool. So yeah, I loved it. So.
Yeah,
and obviously through Jonesy, did you get back through footy with brothers? When you got up here?
Yeah, definitely. There was definitely we'll give you a job, but you got to play. But I still wanted to play rugby league. Like at the time, I was a little bit disheartened when I left Manly, and I was at that point in my life. It was like a sticking point where it's like, what are you doing with yourself? Like, you're 20 years old. Like, all your mates are, my mates back home were out in the mines on 150 plus, and here I am, like, scraping together $500, labouring my ass off, flat out, doing work. So, but yeah, I ended up playing with the Gladstone brothers A grade side, and pretty successful year. Like, we had a great side, and at that time, too, because of the way the 20s were, I think a lot of fringe first graders and fringe Q Cup guys, they'd come to Gladstone to jump on the work. So the Gladstone comp was just like ridiculous. Like the physicality of it was like more than the 20s. Like it was like, you had first grade players running around like, Sione Falmuina, and there was all sorts of different names, running around on the paddock, and it was just crazy football that year. I think we ended up winning that season, taking out the premiership, which was pretty special. Like your first seniors, comp, and it was awesome. Great club, great families around it, people that wanted to be involved, and it was just awesome. So
yeah, it's awesome, bro.
How many teams were in the comp back then?
Yeah, so it was still a local comp back then. It was still Wallabies, Valleys, Tanham. I think we had Calliope, and we had Worry playing in as well.
Worry
were the last side to enter, but strong comp. Like Wallabies were just like, if you're ever a brothers player playing Wallabies, and like, man, back then the hate was strong for each club. Like a good hate. Like it wasn't.
It was a respect, but like on the field.
Yeah, it was definitely like there wasn't anything sinister behind it. Although it didn't feel like it at the time, being a brothers player, getting slung around by the ears, but
that's what makes footy so good, though, bro.
Man, this town just had rivalry. Like it was like you just buy into that rivalry. Like it was crazy. It was just
even at training on Thursday, I've gone up to you and I'm like, I thought you played for Vals. And the look he gave me, it was like, don't ever fucking say that again.
I think if for any brothers player that's played for the club and been around it, like especially like I wasn't a brothers junior, but I think playing for Manly, being hated so heavily, just being associated to the club, and that transcended across to brothers as well, and I just felt like I was at home with the brothers. Like I was like, I'm used to this. Like everyone can hate me anyway. Like I was a Silvertail for 3 years and was hated on the spot for wearing that jersey. Like whatever. Like so what? So I guess definitely passionate about the brothers. Like just good people, good families, and club's done everything for me. Like anything that's ever good happened to me came off the back of playing football, getting that job, and then after that, moving on in life. So definitely gave me a stepping stone, so to speak. Yeah, sure.
And through your footy and work, you've obviously then created your new mates and friends group through here in Gladdy that you still have now for life, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure. So like any team sport, you definitely find your friends and all that sort of stuff. And because I felt so comfortable at the club and the boys were so accepting of me, your family mingles with their families and you just become a part of the community. Like I've been here 13 years now, and I wouldn't say I'm a true local, but I'm as local as anyone else getting around. And I guess just being a part of the community and a part of that footy scene definitely helped. So
100%, bro. Did you get into a bit of like Triple J festive vibes and that when you're still fresh, young 20s and get on the piss?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I came back, I had a partner in that, but I definitely had a lot of footy carry-ons and all that sort of stuff. I was never a huge festival goer. Like, I never dealt well with being around heaps of big crowds and all that sort of stuff. And I'd like to think I'm a pretty private person. I don't give a lot away, and I keep my circle pretty small at all times. So, but I mean, I definitely get up to a little bit of mischief in my younger years. Like I've done Splendor and all that sort of stuff. And you got to give that a go. Like I mean, it was a pretty the one I went to was pretty epic. Like you had, I think Childish Gambino was headlining, and like,
Oh,
I love Childish, man. That guy,
He's
was
talented.
man. I didn't like you see him on the film clips, and you see him, you know, whatever he's doing on
Movies. fucking,
Yeah.
like, heaps of shit.
But you just when you see him live, like that dude was electrifying, man. He was like dancing like Michael Jackson up on.
Well, that's
it was
awesome.
at Splendor, middle of winter, so you can. We're all rugged up. I don't know if you've ever done it, but like you're rugged up, like hoodie, you know, your puffer jacket, jeans. You're wearing
Such a
thermals.
vibe though, bro.
This guy's out on stage in front of like 50,000+ people, and he's no shirt, like white pants, dancing. You know, he's singing "This Is America," and like, I remember I was just like, you know, you're trash, and extracurriculars is going on everywhere. And I remember if you've ever been to that Splendor, you got that auditorium, and it's like goes up the hill like that, and I'm probably eye level with the stage on that hill, and I remember that "This Is America's" on. Remember, I'm just like, you know, in the moment. I remember turning around and that song drops, and it was just like the whole hill just turns into like this huge living organism. I don't know how to explain it. It was just like turn around and it's like animals are just running around. It's like,
there's plenty of them getting around Splendor,
yeah, there's plenty of little cookers and all the rest
A lot
of
of
it.
creatures leave that festival.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good time though. You finish at that auditorium, and then you hear that like TP Forest or whatever it is, and you're walking past and
Going for a size.
it gets you in for sure. But
That's mad.
no, definitely. There's I've done my fair share of partying.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm definitely out of that stage now with a young family and moving on in life. But yeah, for sure.
Future manifestations, bro. What's where with stadium, even like stadium and personally, but like all together, like where 5-10 years, where you aiming to be, bro? What's
I
the plan?
I guess definitely between the three of us, we want to open more locations for sure. I mean, it's definitely a time thing, and then it comes down to costs and all that sort of stuff, and whether the shoe fits. Like the fitness industry is, I wouldn't say super flooded with big gyms, but there's definitely a lot of competition out there. So making smart decisions and where we go next is a big one. We'd definitely love to, 4 or 5 clubs in the next 10 years is achievable. I think every 2 years you can, depending on the growth of each club and whether you've got the capital to go again on the next one, definitely plays a part. But yeah, that's definitely where we're going to head down. Stadiums like the gyms are like one revenue stream for us, and then we're definitely working on other things in the background. Like you've got merchandise, we have the collective range, which has been put on the back burner a little bit, just due to the gyms and the volume of time that it takes in our input into the gyms. We've got our sup range, and eventually we'd love to do like something like a sup store or online sup store run out of the gyms and all that sort of stuff.
Cool.
There's definitely other things we're looking at. For me personally, I've always loved coffee shops. I've always loved wine bars and that little bit upper class. So definitely in the background, I'm working on something along the lines of that, whether it's here in Gladstone or, somewhere else, whether it's in the next couple of years or in 10 years. I'd love to do something like that down the track for sure. So,
That's
awesome, bro.
Wow.
So you want to kind of take on CQ first, and then do you want to branch out more across Queensland?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the people that go to our gyms, the one in Emerald and the one here, some of them work out in the mines and they're working away. And I guess we want to sort of lock down the CQ first. So all our members, whether you're Gladstone, Emerald, possibly Rocky, Mackay, whatever it might be, you can go to those clubs. The same feeling as if you're at Fitness Cartel or World's Gym or Anytime Fitness. You can do that travel between the clubs if you're moving away. It just makes sense to keep all at one spot, lock this area down, and then move on from there, I guess, and not spread too far from what we know either. Like, that's our bread and butter. Like we grew up in these towns, and we've had a lot to do with Mackay and Rocky and even Yeppoon and those sorts of areas. A lot of our mates still live there, and I guess that's why we sort of want to lock down here first and then see how we go. So
Yeah, bro, 100%. That's, bro, what you're doing is just amazing. Like, you've really brought something to Gladdy for sure.
100%.
Really spiced up the game and making everyone have to pick up their level for like gyms across the board across here. Like, it's awesome, bro. It's only been September you first opened up.
Yep.
So it's only been that 9 months, and just made a massive impact, bro. So appreciate what you boys are doing. It's awesome.
No, thank you very much. Thanks for having us on and all the rest of it, and appreciate it.
Yeah, bro, for sure. Well, I was mad potty, bro.
Yeah,
Good talk. Good talk for sure.
Appreciate
And
it.
we're just getting the people we're starting to have on the podcast. It's just awesome. Like,
Yeah.
we're just learning so much, and having people like you, just for the listeners, like having you inspiring stories that, you know, had a dream here, but just because that dream maybe gets crushed, it's not like the end of the road. There's always other things you can move on to, and there's hope in other places of life. So
Yeah, 100%. I think for anyone that wants to jump into the entrepreneurial scene and all the rest of it, I think if you're scared to fail at something, you're never going to be big at anything. If you're not going to attempt it first up and have a crack and not have a go, then you're not going to be in that entrepreneurial game at all. I think you've got to fail at something and learn from it. Those lessons that you learn, you can chuck across into the next avenue and have another crack. Like, we're only on earth for so long, and I don't mean to get spiritual, but I mean, like, you're only on earth for so long, and, you know, for me, it's like I don't want to be in the Matrix my whole life. I don't want to be working for someone else, earning their money. Like, I want to do my own thing, and I want to do something I love, and you know, give my family the best. You know, I'm all about, you know, make money now, and my family, 1 generation, 2 generations, 3 generations down the track, are still reaping the rewards of what I achieved. So I guess that's where I'm at in terms of, that's where I'm going anyway with my stuff. So, sure.
100%, bro.
You're on the fast track there too, so you're doing something right.
Man, yeah. I mean, you just got to take a risk. As much as people, you can do all the calculations and have all the money in the world, at the end of the day, you've still got to take a risk and have a crack. And I think that's just the moral of the story. If you're young, and whether you don't have to be young, but I mean, if you're young and you're ambitious, and then get your stuff together and just have a crack, put yourself out there, and you know, don't worry about what other people are going to say. That people are going to talk shit about you and not believe in you. Like, people didn't believe in this, you know. There's 5 gyms in Gladstone. How are you going to compete? And we're like, don't worry about us. You know, we just stuck to our guns. We knew our plan, and we just had a crack, and that's just what it's about. It was never about competing with anyone else. It wasn't about, you know, trying to be better. We just knew what our product was. We knew we wanted to be community focused. We knew we wanted to bring a certain vibe to the town. And we just ticked the boxes and came in with stadiums. So that's where it's at.
100%, bro. Well, pull the pin there, eh?
Yeah, thank you very
Cheers for
much.
having us,
Cheers
bro.
for letting us use the space.
It's
awesome, bro.
It's all good. No dramas at all.
100%. Righto. Cheers for listening.
Thank you.
Manifest Podcast.